Professor Crawford, and this will be the 10th year that I do this Brazil program. This year is a little bit unusual because it is the World Cup in Brazil, and that's affecting everything. So that's the reason that we start so early. Typically it's a six-credit course. This year it's 5, again because of the World Cup, because on June 10th prices are 10 times higher at accommodation. So I had to make some adjustments. You'll hear from, I guess you're going to speak on a RAF, which is great. So you hear from a student in a second, but just let me quickly tell you the format. As I said, this is the 10th year. I'm terrifically excited. It took me 9 years to get it right, but I'm terrifically excited by this format. So again, because of the World Cup, it's just one course this year, 5 credits. And students go immediately from the international airport in Rio to the Atlantic rainforest, 2 hours away from Rio in the center of Rio State. We spend the better part of a week, and by student demand, we're actually spending more time there, a few more days there this year. So we spend a little over about 10 days in the rainforest talking to stakeholders there who are interested in its resources in some way or another. So we talk with everyone from a self-educated beekeeper who's trying to preserve bees that are native to the Atlantic forest, to preserve the ecosystem there, to big-scale water managers, to commercial farmers, to small farmers, all of these people who depend upon for their livelihood, the resources that the forest provides. Then we go to the city and spend the rest of the time there making the connection with the preservation of all of those environmental resources with the 10 million people who live in the greater Rio area. So we really make an effort then to connect the social and the environmental, the economic, and make you understand the dynamics of trying to define what we mean by sustainable development. And so that's the basic structure of the course. As I think you will hear, I make a pretty great effort also to show students the life and culture of the Cariocas, which is what you call people from Rio. I know Rio much better than I know New Orleans, and I think the students will attest to that, so really get you out. I can also usually, and this year again is a bit of an unknown for me because of the World Cup, I can usually get people internships there if they have some Portuguese language skills. Without some Portuguese language, it's very difficult. Again, this year, everything's a little up in the air, so I can try. If you have some Spanish language skills, or even don't have Spanish language skills but might be interested after in getting an internship somewhere in Latin America or in the Spanish-speaking world, in Spain, I have pretty good contacts there and have regularly placed students. So come and talk to me about that. As I say again, this year, because Brazil is just going to stop starting June 16th when the games start. I mean, they have constant holidays during all the World Cups. So I just don't know whether people will really be working until late July again. And actually late July is when they begin their winter vacation. So that's the basic structure of the course. Please come talk to me if you have anything.
Well, I don't have a lot to say, as much to say about this program, except that it was awesome. And when Professor Crawford says that your first few weeks or the first 10 days are going to be talking with like local stakeholders and whatnot, you're not just talking with them, but you're actually going to visit the places they live and work. You're hiking through farms and having breakfast at the local posada and tasting honey from the local beekeeper. And I think that's really the best way to learn. That was, I think, the highlight of most of our trip there. But we also had a lot of other fun in Rio once we got there.
Yeah, as far as the part in the Mata Atlantica, the rainforest outside of Rio, you know, I've never had the opportunity to do anything like that before, and I'm big into the outdoors stuff, and I loved every minute of it. We went whitewater rafting on one of our excursions. That was really fun. And then, yeah, Rio is an incredible city. I learned a lot there. I really enjoyed, I did the Panama trip too. I guess we're not talking about that, but that was a little bit more, you didn't feel like you were living in the city as much, and that's, in Rio, you really get that feel. I'm sure, especially the people that were there for both sessions, really feel like they know the city, and that to me is valuable. Whenever you do a trip like this, to feel like you can go back and do it on your own or something. That's always important to me. And then as far as just the topics that we covered, you know, I've done a lot of the environmental courses here, and that's kind of my focus. But going to Brazil really showed me that there's a bunch of other ways to do it. It kind of opened my mind. They're really progressive with some of their ideas. So yeah, I just thought it was really overall a good experience.
You don't just get the environmental side of things.
Yeah.
You're doing, I don't know if you'll still do a similar curriculum, but negotiation stuff, mediation, and a lot of policy, and even some sociology and economic development, urban development. So you get a really wide variety of topics in the short amount of time that you're there.
Absolutely. Actually, can I add something? Thank you so much for saying that. I should have said this at the outset. So we've tried in this redesign that they piloted and that we'll do this year, we've tried to give it a strong skills emphasis. So as they said, what we do is after talking to all these stakeholders, we break people up into groups. They represent different interests and then have to negotiate accords, trying to apply what you've learned, your thoughts about how to do this. And you all seem to actually enjoy that quite a lot, right? And again, my co-instructors and I are modifying those materials as one does every year to make it a little better. But so there is some skills training as well as part of that.
Yeah, I think I looked at doing like the ADR and that kind of stuff, but I really felt like the Rio program kind of covered the basics of alternative dispute resolution for me. I didn't feel like I needed to get that somewhere else. It's another good point. Yeah.
It's not a lot of lecture, it's a lot of back and forth between the speakers and you and your classmates as well, so it's fun.
I'm sure everyone said this, but if you have questions and you just see me sometime in the hall, feel free to stop me and ask me anything you want.
And we got to go to the Confederations Cup last year, so maybe you can think about the World Cup. You'd have to start now though.
First game, June 16th.